Welcome to Your Hero Academia by Fangirl48 on AO3. Chapter 4 Exam Time Part 2. Shoto felt unseeing eyes on him the entire day. At first, he had just believed it was Endeavor. Despite multiple warnings from staff members, the Flame Hero continued to walk back and yell at Shoto from the sidelines when his section of the test was over. Endeavor would be right there, grabbing his son's arm and ordering him to cease his childish tantrum. "You are my masterpiece, Shota. I gave you this power for a reason. Use it." Shota clenched and released his right hand over and over again, trying to return feeling to it. The downside of using Mother's ice for so long was that it would build upon his body. The frost wasn't so bad to deal with, a little at a time. But Shota had been using his right side all day, so a lot had built up. It sometimes felt like Mother was trying to reach out to Shoto through her quirk, to stop Endeavor's flames from taking over and corrupting Shota even more so than he already was, and bury him in a world of cold ice. A cool hand reached out and covered the scars on Shoto's face, trying to chase away the voices. Delicious! Pulled away from his thoughts suddenly by the loud shout, Shoto saw one of the other applicants talking to a person with green hair. Gray and blue eyes narrowed suspiciously as he observed them. Hadn't the shorter person been following the group all day? Shoto was sure he'd seen the boy writing something down every time a test finished up. Was he a hero? No, he looked too young, and Endeavor had drilled all the teachers' names and faces into Shoto's head before coming here. An older student, perhaps? Endeavor believed that watching the sports festival was beneath Shoto. Learning their names, faces, and quirks was not worth it. The participants were just another stepping stone for him to walk over on his path of being number one. Whoever this boy was, though, he was strange. Shoto decided that he would have to stay away from. The boy suddenly reached out and grabbed the other's ear, pulling him down with a thunderous look. The dual quirk user, along with all the others, watched as the loud boy paled at whatever was being said. Shoto would sometimes see Natsu with the same expression on his face when Fuyumi was talking to him. From what he overheard his siblings were talking, the garden about Natsu moving out. Natsu was trying to convince Fuyumi to leave also, but their sister was just argue that she couldn't leave Shota behind. The red and white-haired boy didn't understand what he had to do where Fujima lived. It's not like any of them were close, especially not since Mom and Shoto shook his head again, refusing back on the scene before him. "Yes, sir!" the loud boy exclaimed again. Instantly, the angry look vanished from the shoulders boy's face, as he patted the larger applicant's head before walking away, towards Shoto, smiling. Shoto Todoroki. Green eyes locked with blue and gray tones. "Let's talk." The hairs on the back of Shoto's neck suddenly stood up as if warning him. "About?" "Your choice." The boy smiled brighter, kneeling down and reaching the tray out. Shoto got ready to strike. Either this was a sneak attack, or the boy was the villain who snuck into. "Hot chocolate or green tea?" "Give him a drink." "Technically, I should only be giving you water and juice, but we both know that won't help you right now." Green eyes flickered towards the small remnants of frost on Shoto's jacket. "Will it?" Turning to hide his arm, Shota glared. "I don't know what you're talking about. Did my father send you?" "You can tell," and the same hand as before reached up and settled itself on Shoto's head right where the hair parted. A look, scary, coming from the boy's face again. "Listen here, you foolish child. I don't even know your father." The boy leaned in, careful not to spill the drinks. "And if I did, I doubt he could convince me to spy on you. Or, I'm guessing, to tell you to use your other half of the quirk." The world froze as Shota's eyes widened. How did you? I've been watching. It's not that hard to guess, the boy remarked, removing his hands and sitting back down. The frost is a dead giveaway for anyone paying attention. You may want to work on that. What do you want? Shoto narrowed his eyes. For you to choose one of these drinks? Green eyes brightened as the boy smiled again. You are aware that the next part involves water, right? If you don't properly warm up, I'm worried you might hurt yourself in the next test. Oh, Shoto thought, looking at the boy. This stranger was worried about the water reacting with his mother's ice and hurting Shoto. Thinking back, Shoto was pretty sure he'd seen the boy helping out other students stretch or offering them band-aids. Can I? Mm-hmm, the boy hummed, sitting down and placing the tray between them. Can I have the hot chocolate? Shoto whispered, feeling stupid all of a sudden. The half-hot, half-cold user never really had hot chocolate as a kid, and never had put Shoto on a strict diet the moment his quirk manifested. One time when Natsu gave Shoto candy, he would comment that it was worse for his eldest brother. It was so bad that in those last few years, there were times when the boy could barely look at certain foods without getting sick. Steam suddenly trickled Shoto's nose as he looked and saw the hot chocolate in front of him. Reaching out, the red and white-haired boy took the drink and sipped it slightly, amazed by how delicious it was. Izuku had talked to Nezu quickly. Something about the way Todoroki acted sended all kinds of warning bells in his head. Izuku might not be able to guarantee a spot on the ice and something user, but he could damn well make sure an applicant for the domiciliary was sent out. Turning the corner, Izuku ran head first into something. Falling backwards and rubbing his nose, Izuku looked up. Cold blue eyes framed in fire stared back as Endeavor glared down. Watch it, the hero growled. Izuku's eyes narrowed as he got up, putting on his best smile. Apologies for running into you, Endeavor. I should have been paying more attention. The man's glare intensified. Just tell me where I can find the examinee group, boy. The examinees? Izuku faked cluelessness, placing one finger on his cheek. Why ever would you want to know that? Heroes aren't allowed near the test while they're going on. What I do is none of your business, Endeavor snarled, taking one step into Izuku's space and grabbing the arm in his flaming hand. Just tell me where I can find Shoto. Izuku stared at the hand for a moment before reaching over and grabbing the arm, activating his quirk slightly. Since Izuku started training all or nothing with Shota, new doors he never thought possible had been unlocked. He had been able to use it to read a person's own personality through their quirk. Shota's felt like they're one moment and gone the next. Hisashi's was like listening to a loud song that never ended. Nezu's was always hungry for more knowledge. Nomori reminded Izuku of perfume or smoke with the way it curled around you. Even Toshinori's has offered to help Izuku practice. All for one felt like 8 suns, each with its own personality shining bright. But Endeavor, it was stiffening. It was too hot, and at the same time too cold. It felt like Izuku would get swallowed up by these flames and burn alive if he let his guard down for even a second. There was no way Izuku let this person meet Shoto. Izuku had to protect the boy, even if he didn't know it. Taking a deep breath, the time traveler looked up, glaring at Endeavor with every ounce of anger. Now, you listen here, Endeavor, Izuku hissed, pulling out the hero's hold and smacking the hand for added measure. You're going to turn around and walk away. Do you understand me? Endeavor was immediately caught off guard by this, and Izuku suddenly changed in attitude. How dare you? Do you know who I am? Izuku wanted to smack his forehead. Didn't he just say the older Todoroki's name? Do you know how much I don't care? Izuku replied, crossing his arms over his chest. You have already been warned, Endeavor. Multiple times. I might add, to stay away from the exam's proceedings. This is your last warning before I call Nezu. A message is here. A message is here. Whatever Endeavor was going to say immediately silenced. In fact, the man looked like he sucked on even more bitter lemon than usual at the sound of Toshinori's voice. Opening his phone, Izuku laughed and showed the screen to the hero. Endeavor, do as he says, or I'm doubling your fine, and sending out a notice to the other schools regarding your son. XOXO Nezu. The flame hero huffed and turned to walk away. He only got a few steps before he turned around and glared at Izuku again. You won't be able to hide behind the rat forever, you brat. Endeavor, not so subtly, threatened. We will meet again. Izuku smiled sweetly and released some killer intent. For a moment, Endeavor stood there shocked, before his body moved and prepared for a fight. I'm looking forward to it, brat. Neither of the pair noticed gray and blue eyes watching them from afar, narrowing angrily as they separated. Izuku sat with the other teachers and Toshinori as they finished going over the first year's list of examinees. Technically, Toshinori and Izuku shouldn't be sitting on the discussion, seeing as they weren't official staff members. But since they would be living or working at UA in the following semester, Nezu bent the rules slightly. So, we're all in agreement about management, correct? Nezu asked, holding up the last 4 folders. We have our 12 students for the year? A wave of various yes went from everyone. Nezu nodded, placing a hand on separate piles. Our alternative students have also been chosen in case someone drops out or changes their mind. Moving on to the next topic, our new staff members are joining us today. You already met them, but for those who haven't, this is Toshinori Yagi and Izuku Midoriya. Toshinori's eyes bugged for a second as he looked at Izuku, who sat stone-faced. Izuku here, as you know, has been my personal student for the last year. Though he will be technically joining the hero course as a student, he will only really be taking part in the afternoon portion of classes. A murmur broke out against the staff. Aizawa just held in his grin, giving Vlad a smirk across the table. The underground hero was glad he won the coin toss. Vlad was a great teacher. His past students were a testament to his patience and ability to build strong heroes. But Aizawa wanted to take advantage of Izuku's status when it came to teaching and using a trick coin to get him in place of 1A. All was fair in war, napping. Nezu smiled as he leaned forward. During regular classes, he will act as a student teacher of sorts. Izuku will be assisting teachers and helping students whenever they may be struggling. Is that legal? Midnight asked, hating to be that person. Won't the parents and students have something to say? Toshinori coughed and put his hand up. Izuku and I have been working together to get our teaching licenses. As soon as we've passed our last few tests, we'll both be certified educators. Excellent job, Toshinori. Izuku? Nezu clapped his paws together. Which leads to item 2. Toshinori, is you please? Oh, right. The blonde stammered, standing up, activating One for All. Greetings, future colleagues. I am here, and looking forward to learning from all of you in the upcoming year. Aizawa slid down in his seat as everyone tried to talk over one another. Now, Nezu spoke, quieting everyone down quickly. I know this might be a bit of a shock, having All Might here, but he really does want to teach. Toshinori released his hold on One for All, and he pulled his shirt, showing everyone the scar. He tried to ignore the guilt as Izuku flinched at the sight of the area. As you can see, I was gravely injured 5 years ago. I got into a fight with a powerful villain and nearly died. Toshinori began explaining to everyone. Now I can only hold my All Might form for 3 hours a day. The reason I want to teach here is that I realized something when I was recovering. Which is? Vlad King narrowed his eyes, crossing his arms. That we heroes don't always work together like we should, Toshinori answered, sitting down. The UA staff are a great example of how we should behave. Heroes working together separately towards a common goal. Able to come together and help one another when times get tough. Midnight smiled like a cat, who caught the carry. Flattered? Toshinori coughed, trying to hide his reddening face. When I was recovering, I saw things from the news perspective. Or rather, I listened to someone else's perspective. I heard a man preaching about how commercialized we heroes have become. This forum gave me a chance to see things from a civil level. One of the teachers looked like they wanted to say something, but a quick glare from Aizawa shut them up. I saw a man have both his legs broken by a debuting hero for stealing some bread. Later, I learned he wasn't stealing it. He was trying to return it to a woman who had left it behind. Toshinori trembled, looking over at his lap, feeling anger. I will never regret my choice in life, but I can no longer be blind to how things have changed since I was young. Standing up again, Toshinori bowed deeply to everyone. Please, lend me your guidance. I wish to teach the next generation. Want to see the hero industry return to what it was. People using their quirks to help keep people safe, and society safe. Well, Nezu thought, looking at the staff members, everyone looked equal parts humbled and ashamed of themselves. Some probably thought like Aizawa did before his trip to Nabu, that Toshinori was an empty-headed person who could only solve problems with his fist. People often forget that it takes more than just brains or bronze to stay as the #1 hero as long as All Might had. The man truly understood the best and worst in humanity, and wasn't afraid to get himself dirty if it meant helping people. Hopefully, his attitude would rub off on some of the incoming students, no matter what course they ended up in. Nezu had already began the background checks on most of the year's applicants. If a villain got in their head to try and pursue one of his students, Nezu wanted to know what button they pushed to turn he or she into their spy. Well said, Toshinori. Nezu smiled, bringing his gravel. I suggest we all take a small break and visit the cafeteria. Lunch rush, I believe, made today's meal. Why don't we all go and have some? Come back in half an hour so we could address anyone's questions. The heroes all nodded and started to make their way out of the room. Izuku? Nezu called out, watching as the cooking hero walked up to Toshinori and started talking to him about his diet. Can we talk for a moment? Izuku looked at Toshinori and shrugged, saying we could catch up. Yes? I wanted to talk to you about Endeavor. Nezu began. I'm proud of you for not hitting the man. Goodness knows if you didn't have the HPS backing, I would be tempted to have Aizawa, or Detective Tsukuchi, look into him. Thank you, Izuku said, playing with the hem of his shirt. Can I be honest with you about something? Always. Get Shoto out of that house. Izuku looked up, eyes hardening. Something feels wrong. I don't trust Endeavor around him. Nezu nodded. His own fur had stood out on end when Endeavor had been talking about why he wanted to recommend his son. It might be tricky. Endeavor is not so easily manipulated or swayed, but I will see what I can do. Izuku let out a sigh of relief and nodded. Was that everything? Not quite, Nezu sighed, slipping over a piece of paper to Izuku. Printed upon it was a notice of complaint filed against UA from Endeavor and the Public Heroes Safety Commission about a specific exam member. Normally, I would ignore this and write up the fake report, but I believe some of them had gotten wise to me doing so. They have strongly urged me to push this individual, or they will see to it themselves. Why that flaming Nezu coughed. Luckily, they didn't say how I was supposed to punish you, and that got me wondering something. A devilish glint entered Nezu's black eyes. How would you like to get an up-close and personal look at some of your potential classmates, with a small undercover assignment? Somewhere in the cafeteria, numerous teachers shivered, sensing the coming storm. Izuku, being a like a spy. Not a spy, but like undercover. You know, I don't know, I like that. I also really like Izuku being a teacher's aide, a teacher's helper. Like, everyone's like, why isn't he doing it? Technically speaking, he already has all his stuff done. He's already graduated. He has his teaching degree. Like, I don't know what to tell you, students. He's advanced. He's advanced. I don't know. I feel like that's hilarious. I also love how he really leans into the whole I am older, because technically speaking, he would be 215 years old, which is hilarious to me. Because technically speaking, I think he's still 15 at heart, but he's taking that whole I am 200 more years older than everybody else to heart. Like, he's grabbing that and rolling with it. And you know what? If I was like, woke up 200 years later and knew I'm 200 years older, yeah, no, I'm grabbing onto that and I'm rolling with it. I'm calling everybody little one, youngsters, child, all of the above. And I would be, well, I'm an ancient one. I am older than anybody. I am ancient. I am your elder. I deserve your respect. I give you respect. You give me respect. I am older than your parents. I get to call you youngling. Personally, I feel like I would roll with it. I would have so much fun with that. You know, it would also be a little hard to bear. You know, probably a lot of things have changed in 200 years. All my favorite shows would be completely finished, and I wouldn't have to wait for anything else. But you know what would probably happen? I would be on AO3, and then it's like, let's see, when was this My Hero Academia fic last updated? 200 years ago. Great, that's never coming back. That would be the only thing I wouldn't like. The whole, oh no, unfinished, and last time it was updated was 200 years ago? Well, darn it. You know, that would suck. But, as always, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content. And thank you so much for watching.